adjourn the redevelopment?
We will
we
not
have a
have a
special
special meeting. Are you going to?
No,
Did
we need to go to the special city council meeting where you'll have the companion, the
There's no
comparable
special-
pieces for the city.
Okay, I will call to order the special meeting of the Glendale City Council for March 22nd, 2011. Roll call, please.
Council members Draymond,
Here.
Friedman,
Here.
Quintero, Weaver,
Here.
Mayor Najarian.
Here, your report, please.
The agenda for the March 22nd, 2011 special meeting of the Glendale City Council was posted on Thursday, March 18, 2011 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. Just for housekeeping, item 1 is going to be off
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
off the calendar. So let's read item 2, please.
Item 2 is a public hearing, Director of Community Development regarding Museum of Neon Art Project Mona to be located at 212 through 216 South Brand Boulevard. 2A is ordinance for introduction authorizing city manager to execute a 15-year lease with the Museum of Neon Art. 2B is council motion to approve Stage 1 and 2 design review submission. C is council motion to approve sign variances. D is council resolution making the findings in accordance with Health and Safety Code Section 33433. E is council resolution of appropriation.
Okay, this is essentially mirroring the actions of the redevelopment agency. However, I had an issue that I just raised with Mr. Starbird in that item 2E is a resolution of appropriation. This appropriates funds from the city's general fund to Mona. It is our hope that the transfer that we effected last week of agency funds to the general fund will not be hampered by any actions the state takes. I do have objections, however, if the state unwinds that transfer. I do not want general funds to be paid into the Mona project because we have they would have to wait in line more or less, and I would prefer to deal with that through the budgeting process. In the event that such transfer is approved and not molested by anyone in Sacramento, I don't have any problems because these were agency funds flowing through the general fund back to Mona. I'm okay with that. So we spoke to the Ms. Van Meiden, and that there's a amendment. You would propose an amendment to item 2E,
Correct.
which would. How would you address that?
I'll have Ms. Van Meiden read it into the record just for housekeeping. If you could open and close the public hearing.
Okay, I will open the public hearing at 2.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. How this would be adjusted is that Section 3 would be amended to read, this resolution of appropriation shall be null and void in the event the state legislature passes legislation to eliminate redevelopment agencies, or if any successor or oversight agency attempts to unwind transfer of agency assets. And then the old Section 3 will now become Section 4. Section 3. Does that make sense?
Let me ask my colleagues, are my concerns clear?
I think yours are, but I have a question about what was read, because your concern didn't seem connected to whether the agency goes away. It seemed to be whether it goes away and becomes retroactive. That's not what was read. What was read is if this becomes retroactive, or if the agency goes away. And I think they're two separate items.
Why don't you address that, Ms. Van?
Yes, I will. What this is, first of all, this resolution of appropriation is an appropriation for purposes of Mona. That money originally came from the redevelopment agency, and so it would be purpose. If the redevelopment agency is unable to fulfill its purpose in using this money to upgrade its property, this will unwind, and that money will go back to general fund, and in that way it protects it. Does that now make better sense?
No,
Now the appropriation
it
becomes
doesn't,
completely
actually.
null and void.
Let's give Mr. Garcia a chance.
If I may, just first of all, this item is sort of a contingency plan in the event that the actions the agency and the council just took with respect to Mona are somehow invalidated based on what the legislature is attempting or is considering doing with respect to redevelopment. So those actions would stand on their own. We think they'll still be valid because we haven't heard anything as of today. We were just taking these items because just as a contingency, the council have the authority to approve the Mona lease and appropriate funds. I think what the motion is, or what the mayor is requesting, is just that in the event that the legislature suspends or eliminates the redevelopment authority, that the money that's being appropriated for Mona is not from our general fund as it existed before we allocated $32 million over. So it's just, so the funds for Mona will still be there available. It just, the state won't be able to reach it into, if the state goes and tries to unwind any of the transactions we do, the city's general fund as it existed before we transfer money won't be obligated to pay for improvements that the agency is required to pay under the lease.
If I can, I think the only way that this provision would come into play, even if the redevelopment agency is eliminated, is if the loan repayment, which was the mechanism for transferring the agency funds to the general fund, was somehow also ultimately found to have not been legitimate by the state standards. Believe me, there would be litigation before that occurred. In that case, you wouldn't have the redevelopment agency money in the general fund, and your concern was the general fund, in that case, not still be obligated for the improvements. And that's what the motion should try to address. But those two things would have to happen. I mean, frankly, you could have elimination of redevelopment agencies and the repayment of the loan still be legitimate, in which case we would still proceed with the project.
Right. So the first part,
that's not what I heard, and that's why I'm asking.
Right. So we don't care if the redevelopment agency vaporizes or not. It's the funds that were transferred to the general fund.
The repayment of the general fund of GRA loan repayment.
If those are somehow...
As long as
the motion should be if the repayment of the city loan is somehow invalidated under the redevelopment legislation in that event.
Right. That's, I think, the only event that
Then it unwinds.
This becomes rather technical, but a good portion of these improvements are also being paid for with bond funds. Those, under any circumstance, aren't being proposed to be invalidated. Those are viewed, even in the governor's plan, to be legitimate. So there'd just be a part of these expenditures that might be problematic. So can you wrap a motion around that?
Well, it looks like where we ended up is that in the event, if the repayment of the city loan is determined to be invalid, then this resolution of appropriation shall become null and void.
I think
simplifies it.
I think that's a simple amendment. To
Okay. That's the new Section 3.
2E. I don't have any speakers on
Not on
2.
this one.
You have someone on 3, but on 2, Mr. Weaver, would you request separate consideration on A and D?
If either one of them is Mona, yes.
Yes, okay.
So which one of them's
A and D.
for? Okay, so I'd be voting no on that. Which,
Okay, we'll just do these one
for the
at a
whole
time.
project? Either one.
I'm going to close the public hearing. Mr. Draymond on 2A.
All right, I'll introduce the ordinance at 2A, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a motion for 2B?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Draymond?
Yes.
Friedman?
Yes.
Quintero? Weaver?
No.
Mayor Najarian?
Yes.
See.
Is there a 2C?
There is a motion at 2C. I'll move the item.
Second by Ms. Friedman. Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Draymond?
Yes.
Friedman?
Yes.
Quintero? Weaver?
No.
Mayor Najarian?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move the item at 2D.
D is,
334.
Findings for the 334.
right, so that'd be a no again.
Pertinent to Mona.
Is there a
Second.
Second?
Roll call.
Councilmembers Draymond?
Yes.
Friedman?
Yes.
Quintero? Weaver?
No.
Mayor Najarian?
Yes. 2E as amended. Will someone move that?
Yes, I'll move 2E as amended.
Second. Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Draymond?
Yes.
Friedman?
Yes.
Quintero? Weaver?
Guess I'm voting no on this too, because it's related?
No?
I guess so. From,
Oh,
No.
okay.
Mayor Najarian?
yes.
Thank you.
Item 3, please.
Item 3 is Director of Community Development regarding East Side Brand Boulevard Improvement Project schematic design of the pedestrian passage and alley parking lot improvement. At 3A is motion directing staff to proceed with design and development phase.
Hey, we heard this before. I do have a speaker, Mr. DiPietro.
Thank you very much. My name is Dennis DiPietro. Just wanted to reiterate the concerns that we have as the property owners to the south of the passage about any kind of obstructions that will be both negatively impacting the passageway and the property. We want to make this thing as dynamic a thing as possible. And Mark has indicated that apparently that wall will not be built, so that's good to hear, that hopefully we can work together to develop a good interface between the public and the private properties. And we're all in favor of whatever timing. We'll work in concert with the agency in terms of timing, in terms of those adding those openings in our building. It's fine with us. We just wanted to move the process forward.
And no parking on the side, right?
Pardon me?
No parking?
There will be parking. There'll be 6 parking spaces.
Okay, that's something that we're going to get back.
Yes.
Our staff is going to work together. And Mark, did you say we weren't going to build that wall?
Yeah, defend yourself.
Actually, Mr. DiPietro is partially correct. I said the portion of the wall that's along his building face will not be built. The part that's...
That's where the design shows possible seating at the
Yes.
grand end of the building, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the part of the wall, it wouldn't go from the alley all the way to Brand. It would stop at his building.
Okay, this is going to be, the details will be worked out with staff at a drafting table, not over the chairs in the middle of a special meeting of council, so.
But do I understand correctly then that the agency is now saying that we can't build parking behind our building?
I didn't say that.
Well, I think what you heard is two astonished remarks that in the midst of this vast attempt at improving Brand, that we're not really happy about having surface parking with automobiles right there. It's not an issue before us at this point, so we can't really discuss it and go back and forth. But in terms of clarifying what you think you heard, I can tell you what I thought I heard about that. That's something that you will take up with staff and deal, and eventually it may come to council or the agency.
Okay, because we've expended money to do the design, submit the drawings, get the permit, get the plan check, and it's been approved. We have a permit in hand.
We don't have anything before us. All we have heard is just a few sentences about it. So anything we're saying is just off the cuff and really inappropriate to take any final understanding about what we're raising. I'm sure staff has a much better understanding of that issue, and Mr. Ghani, Mark, and Phil will be able to work with you on that.
Okay, and yeah, we asked staff that we meet as quickly as possible about this.
They're right behind you, and I think they're getting the message loud and clear.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there a motion for 3A?
I move 3A.
Or second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Council members Draymond,
Yes.
Friedman,
Yes.
Quintero, Weaver,
No?
Mayor Najarian.
Yes. This wasn't a Mona item, but that's all. We'll let that stand.
Well, then,
Is there a motion?
Change my vote then.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Change that
So
already.
moved.
Second.
Council's
I think
adjourned.
Mr.
Change that
Weaver
to
wants
an
to
aye.
change to a yes.
How do
Put
we
it-
go into closed session now?